Hello, everybody, and welcome to Marketing Technology, where you can find out whether you're a laggard or a leader. I'm here with my fellow panelists, Nicole DeMeo and Taylor West, and we're going to each introduce ourselves to you. So I'm Janine Moss, and I'm the founder, one of the founders of Outfront Solutions. And we provide branding and marketing, business development, and business expansion services. And we focus on technology and the cannabis industry, have a lot of experience with tourism, B2B, B2C. And as technologists, we've been doing this all our lives. So we're looking forward to sharing some of the things we've experienced with you here today. Nicole?
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with the cannabis community, and thank you to NCIA for having us. I am Nicole DeMeo, and I wear a lot of different hats, both literally and figuratively. As Janine mentioned, I'm her co-founder of Outfront Solutions. I'm a consulting CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, and Senior Communications and Marketing Executive. I'm also a partner in a venture capital firm. And we're looking forward to bringing to you today 20 years. I know I have, so I'm dating myself, 20 years of technology industry experience, and we'll apply it to the cannabis industry and hope this is wonderfully practical and useful for you all. Taylor?
Thank you, Nicole. I'm Taylor West. I am a partner with Heart and Mind Media, which is a marketing, strategic communications, and video production firm based in Denver. We serve cannabis businesses as well as non-cannabis businesses. But some of you may know me from a previous role when I was deputy director of NCIA for almost 4 years. In that role, I did do quite a bit of the marketing and communications on behalf of the organization. And when I left NCIA, I spent some time at a marketing agency here in Denver prior to Heart and Mind Media called Cone Marketing, where we had a cannabis-focused vertical called Conabis. So I've been working in the cannabis space for several years now, with all of the challenges and interesting things that the cannabis industry brings to marketing. So we're excited to talk to you today.
We are. So Taylor, will you explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we are living in a very different world than we thought we would be even 8 months ago. This is a pandemic world that has changed the way a lot of people are living their lives. There has been some incredibly positive change. The most obvious one for this group being that cannabis has been declared an essential service by a lot of states. So dispensaries have been able to stay open throughout a lot of the shutdowns that we saw early in the pandemic and maybe getting ready to see again, depending on how things go into the fall. Because of that, cannabis businesses have really been forced to jump the chasm. And I'll explain what I mean by that. You can see the graph on the screen that really shows the way that technology tends to get adopted. And there is this jump from visionaries to pragmatists that can be difficult to make. Cannabis companies, because we were forced into a world where we couldn't perform retail in the same way that we had been used to, really had to jump that chasm all at once. And so we're going to talk a bit about various technologies that represent ways to get across that chasm. And it's good to remember that even in challenges like the COVID pandemic, there are advantages, there are silver linings, and one of those is this motivation and this push to move ahead.
Mm-hmm. So
I will, so in order to kind of lay the groundwork, I want to sort of define marketing technology because it can include a lot of different things. Most sort of essentially, it is technology tools that we're using across the marketing mix to achieve objectives. And that includes getting your message and your brand and your visibility out there. But it also includes things like tracking and measuring, and it includes collaboration. And so you'll see as we get further into this that really marketing technology spans quite a lot of areas of your business. And this MarTech stack, as we call it, sort of the portfolio of options you have for technology is huge and can be overwhelming.
Massive.
Yeah. And so we're looking at something like 7,000 different tools. We're not going to go over all of those today, but we're going to give you some sense of how they break down and where you might want to look first.
Right.
And I will just give a quick structural rundown of how we're going to be talking about this. We're going to lead off with a little bit more of a big picture discussion of the marketing funnel. And some of you, this may not be new for, and others it may be. So we want to make sure that we are understanding what we're talking about as far as the marketing process and the things that we want to measure and hopefully improve using technology. Then we will talk a little bit about the CMO approach, the Chief Marketing Officer approach. And if you're a CMO, great. If you're not, but you own a business or you are touching the marketing in any way, this is going to be something you need to know about as well. And then finally, we'll talk a bit about this landscape and help you understand kind of the buckets that all of this technology falls into. So this is the basic marketing funnel, and I'm going to go over a little bit of it, and then Janine and Nicole will certainly chime in and talk about
Absolutely.
it from their perspective as well. So what it starts out with over here on the left-hand side are kind of the main types of marketing that we're talking about. So paid is advertising, things that you have to pay money for. And we know, and we'll talk about this more later, that can be difficult for some cannabis companies. Owned media or owned marketing is content and marketing that you are producing. Your website, your blog, things that you have created.
Campaigns.
Email campaigns, exactly.
Social.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you have total control over.
That's right. That's right. And then shared is where we see social media coming in, engagement from your customer base, who are potentially acting as kind of an advocate for your business. And then earned really falls into the sort of PR area. So you're doing things that are attracting attention that you're not actually paying specifically to have placed.
Awards, things like that also fit there. Yep.
Yeah.
Reviews.
And then that moves you, so that's kind of the categories that we're talking about. And then this funnel really isn't meant to reflect the journey that a customer goes through. They start as strangers, and you have to attract them. If you do that successfully, and you can see some of the tactics that are listed below as potential tactics that work well in that phase. If you do that successfully, you draw them as visitors, either to your store or to your website. Then the goal is to convert them, to turn them from visitors into people who are interested in the product that you're selling. That at that point, they become leads. And closing is where you move those open leads into paying customers. But it doesn't stop there. And that's an important thing to recognize, that there is one more step, and that is delighting your customer. And that happens with the product, but it also happens with other kinds of follow-up, bringing them into your community, because ultimately the goal is to get them to this final step where they are promoters of your brand or your product. They are out there natively talking to their community about your product in a way that is really beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And just to point out, along the bottom, we're showing the different points that you're going to want to measure your campaigns, right? So marketing is a technical discipline. And we're going to talk about a lot of tools where you can measure at each point along the way through the marketing mix.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is our favorite line: what gets measured gets done. And what's really great about digital marketing is it's so measurable. I mean, in the old days, we resisted measurement a little bit. I'll go ahead and admit it, because it was super hard to do. And it was never precise, never really knew. But today, these technology tools that we're going to talk about enable you to do that. So Ms. Nicole is the OKR and KPI queen, so I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about those.
Definitely. I'm a little bit of an OKR and KPI nerd, just because everything that we do in marketing, it really needs to be goal and, it needs to be very strategic. It needs to be goal oriented. We need to track our results. And so, in marketing, we're making sure that our goals are rolling up into the overarching company goals, right? And so we really love to measure with objectives and key results and key performance indicators. And you could see a description for yourself here. We're going to talk about some tools for measuring them and helping us all stay on track and focused to achieve the things that we need to, given the fact that the marketing mix is very expansive. But what it needs to do for you needs to be very strategic and measured.
Mm-hmm. So just a word on the CMO approach. First of all, the C is for chief. And what that means is that your CMO sits in the C-suite. And everyone in the C-suite is responsible for revenue. And so as a CMO, you look at how do I generate revenue and how do I marshal every aspect of the organization to deliver that experience and that delight to your customers, right? So we have to know as marketers, what's going on in operations? Are you guys going to be able to fulfill on the promises that we make to the customers, right? So basically what we do as CMOs is we say, okay, what's the target this year? You know, if we have to sell $300,000 worth of a cannabis drink, what's it going to take to get there? What are all the things that are going to go through that funnel and result in a customer giving you dollars? And we're going to know about the margins, and we're going to know all of the details so that we can use those in order to manipulate them, and whether it's a special offer or sampling, whatever it is. So I think one of the points I want to make is just there are no silos. We don't believe in them. We haven't believed in them for years. But if there's one thing that levels the playing field, it's digital technologies, right? And they can all be integrated and give you a complete picture. So we're going to talk about that with the technologies. The only other thing I want to say quickly is that the 5 Ps still relate. This is an old construct, but it's still operable today. People, product, price, place, and promotion. All of these are important aspects of your marketing. And if you think about them carefully, you'll see what the points of connection are that you need within your organization to fulfill on your marketing promises.
And one last note about this, during COVID times, it's more important than ever that you're putting people at the center of everything you do. So you're remembering that you are in communication with and you are creating community with people. And so your campaigns and all of your objectives need to really continue to put people at the center of everything that you do.
And to all you marketing people and non-marketing people, the voice of the customer is the most important thing, but it's usually what we bring. We will never do anything. A CMO is not going to implement anything without being really in the understanding everything possible about the customer and bringing their voice into everything that you do. So hang on. Okay, so guess what? This is the landscape we're dealing with in marketing technology. Hey, good news for you. You don't have to deal with all of this. We've broken it down into some buckets. And so these are the buckets in the marketing stack that Taylor mentioned, which is the collection of technologies that you're going to use in your business. And we broke them into these buckets, these 6 buckets: management and collaboration, data and measurement, content and experience, social and relationships, advertising and promotion, and commerce and sales. And what we're going to do now is, because you saw the landscape, we're not going to talk about all of them, but we're going to talk about them in general, and we're going to give you our personal insights of what we've seen, what we tried, what happened, what can we tell you that's going to be useful to you in implementation.
So in this first bucket of the 7,000 tools that exist, we're going to cover the topic of management and collaboration. So in each of the following slides that you'll see on the left side the tasks that are automated in marketing, and then on the right, these are examples of just some of the tools. Now, in no way in this talk will this be completely comprehensive, because you saw that slide. It's a nightmare. It's crazy. There's a lot to suss out in all these tools. But good news is, in this talk, we're breaking them down And so it's more digestible this way. And also there's going to be a lively Q&A at the end of this. So we welcome all of your questions around these different areas. So back to management and collaboration. What we're talking about here is project management, things like forecasting, finance, collaboration tools, your CRM, customer relationship management tools, and projects and workflow technologies. I've used every single thing on this list, and there are pros and cons on all of them. You can go deep or you can go surface layer. I would just say that for example, in a lot of the project management and communication tools like the Microsoft Teams and Google Suites of the world, there are various levels here. Some of them are free. Some you need to get in deeper and pay for. How about team members, Janine and Taylor? Do you want to chime in on some of your favorites or your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, what I want to chime in on is that some of these things, let's take Google Suite, right? Fantastic. It's mostly free. Yes, you can get some paid things, but there's a lot of free stuff there. Fabulous. Hard to manage, you lose your links. It's hard to put things in buckets, in folders and find them. At least it's hard for me. So I prefer something like Basecamp. And, Basecamp is only one of these three we have up there, Basecamp, Asana, and Trello. We've researched them all, we've used them all. And basically, what they mostly do similar things. But there's
project management,
project
communications,
right.
And all
which
those
is what I'm thinking about Google Suite too, right? Yeah. So what I want to say is I like Basecamp. Why do I like it? I like it because it's real easy to categorize things and find them quickly. You can email stuff in there. You can generate notices when stuff's happening. What I don't like is that you can't collaborate in the tool. You have to download the tool, work on it, upload the tool. That's a little bit of a pain. Google Suite, Google Docs, you can collaborate right
real
there.
Time.
Right, in real time, but on the other hand, try finding it again later. So I just want to say those kinds of things, like another really, really super important thing with technology is adoption. If it's hard to use, if it doesn't fit in with people's normal course of business, you're going to have a difficult time getting them to use it. So you're going to have to, there are tricks and techniques for we technologists who have gotten people to use things over the years. But most important is it has to be relevant and it has to do something for the user. If the user can't see the benefit, don't buy it.
And I think that's really important. And I would add to that you need to work really hard to get buy-in from your team, especially on these management and collaboration tools where most of your office in theory would be using them. Because the reality is if you just kind of plunk it down and say, we're using this now, a lot of your team members are going to continue doing whatever they were doing before. And then this tool just becomes an added thing that they have to manage. It's an important thing to transition into it very thoughtfully.
And again, this is just a short list of tools, Slack, a ton of them across all these different categories. So let's go on to the next one because we have to kind of trudge through them because there's so many to cover. Okay, our next category is data and measurement. So as you can see, the tasks, this covers anything from, marketing and audience data to web, mobile analytics, dashboards and data visualization, compliance and privacy. So there are a lot of different tools. HubSpot and Marketo are some of the bigger ones. They come with a bigger price tag and they go across all these different categories. And then some of the other tools on this list, maybe Janine and Taylor, you'd like to speak to as well.
Yeah, I think I would point out, a lot of these tools that we're talking about are ones that any business uses. But it's also true that there are certain things about the cannabis space that are unique. And there are tools that are designed specifically for that. You don't always need a cannabis specific tool, but there are times when it's helpful. And when it comes to data, market research, measurement, there are companies like BDS Analytics and Headset that provide specific analysis of the cannabis space. And that's really important for targeting in your marketing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a custom set up program with them. If you don't have that in your affordability, there are reports and databases and dashboards that you can access that
There's
are
a lot
broader.
that's available. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Without having a bespoke program or a report. But that's also available to you, right? To partner with the BDSs and headsets of the world to do a specific report.
And I just want to point out a couple things. You'll see dashboards and data visualization and also business customer intelligence and data science. Those are really great tools. They're usually for larger enterprises. They're more expensive. They're going to be integrating a lot of the analytics and data that we're going to be talking about here. But they're probably they may be further down your journey unless you're a giant company. I also want to say that this is a time of improvisation, and you got to try stuff, right? So for example, Outprint Solutions has just completed an assignment for a new cannabis drink company that's coming on. And this happened, we got the assignment right after COVID hit. So we were like, okay, now look, we know that the consumers' attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors are all changed. How is that going to affect this category? And we are huge. We've talked about the voice of the customer before. We really believe in talking to your customers all the time. So we said, okay, how are we going to do that in COVID? How are we going to develop these products, figure out what the flavors are, packaging, ingredients, the whole ball of wax, and we can't have focus groups, and we can't do one-on-ones, and we can't do interviews, and we can't go to the dispensary. So we pulled out SurveyMonkey, and we took SurveyMonkey, and we started by sending it out to a list that we were able to acquire through our connections, because you got to use what you can get. So we were able to get out to a list of 10,000 with a SurveyMonkey, and in that survey, so we learned a ton through the survey, but part of its job was to then indicate who we could then go into greater depth with. So out of the survey, people said, oh yeah, sure, you can call me and talk to me more about this. So that's what we did. From the survey, we saw the key customer groups we wanted to talk with, and then we set them up. And then we did Zoom calls.
Zoom
Right.
focus groups.
Now the thing about it is it's a lot different than doing normal focus groups. We got to use new techniques, new ways of getting at the information. But that's too long for this slide. We can talk about it later. I just want to say, use these tools, make them work for you. There's tons of them out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Our next category is content and experience. So we have things that they automate are, email marketing, content marketing, mobile apps. This is the, owned media, shared media, SEO. These are all the different areas that they automate. And examples of tools are in-industry ones like Weed Maps and Leafly, cover a number of these areas. Once again, you see HubSpot and things like WordPress and Squarespace helping on the CMS and web experience side of things. So a lot of different tools. We also love Canva. It's super helpful for creating all kinds of content and interactive content. Yeah, and most of these tools also have optimization, personalization, and testing, especially, the Marketos, HubSpots of the world have those types of, that level of functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add, you two?
I'm going to just weigh in on MailChimp really quickly. So MailChimp is great. It integrates with lots of stuff. It builds your list. It also happens to be more expensive than some of the other choices you have. And it's also more stringent in its lists. Like when you upload lists and you have to have double opt-ins and stuff like that. On the other hand, it's really excellent and it has tons of great tools. So I just want to, say that about MailChimp. And I also want to emphasize it because as cannabis marketers, our email lists are golden. Right? It's our chance to really talk directly to customers in many cases. So building your email list should be on your strategic list of must-dos.
Yeah. Yeah. And SEO Moz, one other thing I wanted to say is SEO Moz is really helpful in finding those keywords. And it's so critical that your SEO, that all of your content is keyword laden. On your website, on your blogs, in your social. So SEO Moz is a great way to rank and determine organic keywords that you can use, that sort of thing. So and there's you can use it on a trial basis and things like that before you get into paid. So those are a number of different tools there.
Okay.
All right. Social and relationships, things they automate. Here we are doing a webinar and online on Zoom, right? Social media marketing, loyalty, influencers, community and reviews, conversational marketing and chat, and customer experience. And here you see all the tools on the right. I've definitely pretty much used them all in different ways. And once again, as we were saying earlier in this webinar, we are adapting and using the tools differently than we did pre-COVID, right? I mean, who would have thought that a video conferencing tool would become so widely used and for such a number of different purposes? So yeah, you have that. And then Taylor, did you want to chime in on some of the things in the cannabis industry like Blackbird and
Yeah. So, one of the areas that is really important in especially the retail cannabis space is loyalty. And, we know that location of a dispensary is typically the most important thing for someone making a choice to go to a particular dispensary.
Well, it
But
used
there
to
are
be.
right, or it used to be pre-COVID.
yeah, now
But there are
deliveries.
ways to kind of lock in customers. And, this is not unique to the cannabis space. Lots of industries use loyalty programs. But there are some pieces of software, pieces of technology like Blackbird, like SpringBig, that are specifically designed to be marketing tools that include a sophisticated loyalty program that allows you to really hone in on what the products are that your particular customers are interested in and design rewards that are specific to them. Customization is such an important piece of all of our, especially digital marketing nowadays.
Yeah.
So having a service that is designed to do that within cannabis can be a big deal for a retail business, especially.
And
Yeah.
I just want to pop in to say that post-COVID, since post-pandemic, we think that relationship marketing is one of the most important aspects for you to pay attention to going forward.
Yeah, very much so.
We're getting close to time, so we should.
Yeah, on the last slide, ask us about chatbots, because that's also an amazing area that's grown exponentially, and we have a nice deep expertise. Advertising and promotion, complicated area, right, in cannabis. And if you have an ancillary product, if you're touch the product, if you are CBD, THC brands. So what you can and cannot do is very much regulated here. And we have done the dance and created programs and workarounds to do things like Google Ads, to use these different examples of tools on the right. Did either of you want to provide a story or example? Janine, I think you had one.
I do have one, but I think it'll be timely. I want to tell you about how we overcame the programmatic. One of the things we did that's pretty funny. So ask in the Q&A and we'll tell you then.
Okay, great.
Okay,
So,
commerce and sales.
Commerce and sales. So here we're talking about, these are tools that help in the retail environment, sales automation, affiliate marketing, e-commerce marketing. And once again, there are a lot of different tools that can really help as workarounds given the laws that are different across state to state. And you have some consistent players that can work across the United States and partners that can connect on the back end, like the Leaflys and Weed Maps of the world. You have the sales automation and tools like the HubSpots and Salesforces of the world. You have specific affiliate marketing with Can Affiliate. Dojo Mojo is a tool that we've loved in cannabis marketing and outside of it as well, to help build those lists. Social works across a lot. In Shopify rather, on the CBD side is allowing commerce. So few things to check out. Yeah.
So basically, the big message here is what gets measured gets done, and you have unprecedented opportunity to measure. And now you are, or should be, a digital marketer, because you really don't have a choice anymore. So start from the goal and work backwards. Pay attention to every aspect of that customer journey, how you intersect it and how you move it through. Set up your technology tools at the start, because many of these things will integrate, and you'll get the mini dashboards that you don't pay huge dollars for. Make sure that you're reviewing this stuff all the time. It's lovely to have it, but a lot of people don't look at it. And that's how you find out what's working, what's not, and how you can optimize it, and how you can build on what works, because what we're all trying to do is have replicable growth and a replicable cost of customer acquisition through these programs. So not everything will work. Don't feel badly. That's one of the great things of the digital age. You get to test everything. It's an amazing capability. So you definitely should do that. And finally, we can't thank you enough for being with us. You feel free to email any of us. We'll respond, and also connect with us on LinkedIn. And now we want to go to Q&A and hear what you would like to hear more about.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone. Let's jump into Q&A.
Done.